could unfold here, where counter-protesters opposing a religious pro-life group have clashed with Seattle police, and that has led to what you're seeing right here.
Come on, we're here to declare this afternoon that Seattle belongs to Jesus. Jesus has the highest name. At the name of Jesus, every knee bows and every tongue confesses that he is Lord, to the glory of God our Father. So from my house to the White House to the crack house, Jesus is Lord. And we declare over the Pacific Northwest, swing wide, you ancient gates, and open up, you ancient doors, and let the King of Glory ride on in. We didn't come this far just to come this far.
Well, my goodness, guys, there you are looking at a revival and a riot, as it was in the days of Paul. Everywhere he went, there was revivals and there was riots. And today, guys, we are seeing this happen in real time. Hey guys, Pastor Troy here with you. So glad that you're joining us today on The Pulse. Got my beautiful bride here with me.
Good morning.
Doesn't she look cool, by the way? You can tell, listen, she's like, I don't want to sit far away from you. I got to sit right next to you. And I'm like, okay. Actually, there's only one chair in this hotel room we're actually in. But nonetheless, I use that as an excuse to work my magic. That's what I'm doing.
It's working.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, it's good to have Shay with us, guys. I want to welcome you here today, guys, to episode number 46, as we're going to be talking with our good friend, Miss Jenny Donnelly. She's going to be with us.
I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah, well, listen, we love
excited.
Jenny. We are like the president. Like, if you actually write her fan club, we're the presidents of her of the
right.
Jenny Donnelly fan club, and we're going to be talking with her in a really cool way. And we're going to be going through the escalation of violence and the actual demonstration of terror against people that are standing for Jesus, for family, and for our kids. And so wait till you hear this. This is going to be a good one. Now, joining me from about 1,500 miles away from where I am right now, which is right on the edge of California and Nevada, up here in the high Sierras, is my good friend, Miss Shay Wilbur. Hey, Shay, what's going on?
Hello. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Ladybug. How are you?
We're good. I'm so excited for this show today. You guys saw that clip from the front lines of Seattle, and man, it gets me so fired up. This is a topic, we're talking about faith, family, and taking a stand for our families as Americans and standing on the morals that this country was built on. And so I can't wait, Pastor, to hear you dive into this stuff with Jenny Donnelly, because they literally have been on the front lines and they are waging this war, and it is so necessary. And I'm excited. I already feel fired up today to get into what we're going to get into. So if you guys, oh yeah, what?
Go ahead. It's all right. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for everyone who's joining us, let us know where you're joining us from, and we will give you a shout out here in just a moment. We're so excited to see. We just love seeing where everyone has tuned in from, because we know it's all across the globe. We usually have people in Africa and in the UK and Ireland. Pastor Gary McGibbons a lot of the time pops in here, and we just love seeing our Pulse family from all over the world. So be sure to like and comment and share, be a media missionary, and let us know where you're watching from.
Well, everybody likes the idea of standing everybody loves the idea of, hey, we're going to literally stand for Jesus, man. We believe in righteousness, and righteousness is whatever lines up with the Father's heart. That's what righteousness is. And hey, man, we're going to line up with the Father's heart. Everybody loves the idea of that until they get urine thrown at them, until they get called all kinds of names, until their children are terrorized, until they are made fun of by news agencies all over the United States, and until a big part of the body of the majority of the body of Jesus goes, ooh, they should have never done that. Everybody loves the idea of standing this until you actually make the stand. And then the people that do it, they're going to make it look easy, and I promise you it's not. And today we're actually going to be talking to Jenny as we get off into what went down, what happened, and where do we go from here. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, man, it is going to be so good. And really quick before we bring her in, because she has made time for us. She's been doing all these interviews with different news outlets, and they are really in the trenches, on the front lines in every way possible right now. So we're so excited she's made the time to join us today. And so we'll get to her really quickly. But before we do, we just want to make a couple quick announcements, you guys. If you are in the Burleson area tonight, Jerry Ann Webb will be joining us at Open Door Church to preview. It's like an early screening of her movie, Repair the Breach. This is, it's going to be an incredible night here. We are really excited, super blessed to have her in the house tonight. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you're making your plans for this evening, maybe you're a couple hours away, hop in the car right after the Pulse, drive on down here, drive on up here, and make it, because it's going to be incredible, and you'll be able to see that if you're in the area and if you can make it here.
Okay. Well, right on. So, hey, you guys come out and be a part of that. Jerry Ann Webb is somebody who stands for family. And I'm telling you right now, she is like anointed for that. And I'm actually in her movie, and I haven't seen it. So I don't know. I mean, I might have been teeth or something, and that's going to show up in camera. But hey, you guys come out and see it. And then actually there's going to be a survey afterwards. And so it's a special screening at Open Door Church. And that's going to be tonight. I also have to give one more big shout out, because we just rescued a 14-year-old little girl out of the horrors of trafficking. I call her the Oreo girl, because once we rescued her, we said, hey, you can have anything in the world you want. And she said, I want an Oreo. And so this little girl, I was like, okay, well, we're actually doing a whole lot better than that, because she's about to turn 15. And in the Mexican Hispanic culture, it's a really big deal to have a quinceañera. So she doesn't have a daddy. And so she's asked me to be her dad. And I'm like, hey, man, I'll come down there. I'll do that. And then, dude, I'm out of town this week. So our son, Ben, he went and bought himself a suit. Pastor Suwanami has gone down there. We're spending tons of money for a huge celebration of her beautiful life and how that she is no longer a slave. And that's going to be taking place this week. And that little girl never imagined a week ago that she was going to be set free and then have a whole new family and then have a big old party that celebrates her life. But her Redeemer has come to her. And so you guys be watching the media this week, because we're going to put all that on there.
Yeah, and just want to encourage you guys right now. You know, we do all of this. We do media, we do church, we do the Pulse podcast so that we can rescue more kids. And we have stories like Emma's every single week. We are constantly saying yes to these rescues, because how could you possibly say no? When the authorities bring you a 14-year-old girl that has just been discovered in the midst of this crime ring, and she's been prostituted and gone through so much, how could you possibly say no to her? And we cannot, and we don't. And if you know anything about Pastor Troy and Leanna, they say yes. They say yes, and they trust on the Lord to bring in the resources. And you guys are a huge part of that. We literally cannot do this without you. So I just want to encourage you right now to get in the fight, guys. Don't just be moved by these stories, be mobilized to get involved and be a rescuer yourself. When you partner with us, you become a rescuer. You are a rescuer by partnering with us. And it's so easy to do so. You can call the number on your screen, 877-413-0888. You can give over the phone. We have a 24/7 prayer line, and people there waiting to talk to you 24 hours a day. And that is a number that you can call to give and get involved. You can also go to troybrewer.com and we made it really easy there. You just click on give, and you can also snail mail us. We have a lot of you. Hey, no judgment for those who still use snail mail. I still do too sometimes. You can mail to Troy Brewer Ministries, P.O. Box 3775, Burleson, Texas 76097, guys. And listen, when we say yes to a rescue, when we say yes to a kid, we're saying yes to at least $1,200 a month to support them. So this little girl, it costs.
We're rescuing somewhere. We never have a month anymore that we don't rescue at least 15 kids.
Yes.
So I think the lowest month that we've had this year has been 15 kids that we've rescued. And it is a money pit. And we don't care. We do not care. So jump in, join the fight, call the number today. All right.
Yes.
Hey, is it okay if I just get straight to my friend?
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it.
She is so busy, and I'm so honored to have her with me today. Friends, I'm about to bring in Jenny Donnelly. Let me just say this. She's a bold voice. And whenever I say she's a bold voice, listen, this girl is brave. And one of the highest compliments I can give to anybody in this limp-wristed day of soy boy leadership is when people are brave and when they are full of the Holy Ghost, and when they stand up and when they do it with class and when they do it in a way that looks like Jesus. Man, we look at that and we go, wow, that is so impressive. So she's a bold voice on the front lines of faith and family. She is the founder of Her Voice movement and the force behind Don't Mess with Our Kids, and also Mayday USA, which is a really big deal. She's mobilizing thousands of prayer warriors across the nation. Jenny isn't just calling for revival. She's demanding it. She's leading it, and get ready to be stirred and get ready to be activated. Here's our good friend, Miss Jenny Donnelly. Hey, Jenny.
Hello. Wonderful to see you.
Ali.
Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you for joining us. What an honor. And in the midst of this really busy time that you're in right now, for you to stop what you're doing and for you to join us. Thank you so much for the honor of that.
Of course. We love you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for loving us. We sure do love her, don't we?
We sure do. You know, Jenny, one of the things that you said in this recent happenings that's going on is you said David fought the lion and the bear in secret, but he fought the giant in public.
Yeah, we've been talking about that phrase over and over again. And what we're seeing is the slaying of a giant.
Yeah.
And the slaying of the giant is messy and it happens in public. So,
Yeah.
so tell us what's happening. Just
Okay. Well, you made a good introduction when you said it's messy. So revival is messy. You know, it's not just this clean worship, extended worship service inside a building, and we just, just experience the glory with our friends we see every Sunday. No, revival is an awakening of the church that causes other people to want to be a part of what we're doing. So basically, this Mayday USA, we launched off in the first week of May. We went to New York City and we went to Times Square. It was crazy. It was amazing. We had protesters come to that one, but we welcome our protesters. They have a First Amendment right to speak what they want to speak. And we all have to come peacefully, right? And not break laws by being violent. And so we had a couple of our protesters in New York City that got saved. It was beautiful. We went to Miami after that, then Houston, Texas. We had kids come out from the projects in Houston, and mamas bring their 5 kids, get their haircuts, get baptized, receive Jesus. It was glorious. But the Holy Spirit had told me the whole time, you're going to have kind of a break in Houston. Houston's going to kind of be a breath and an exhale because you're with people who we have a relationship with. We have so many incredible churches down in Houston that are, coming together and really mobilizing together and unified. He said this, though. He said, you better rest up because Seattle is going to be big. Now, we had gotten intel that the protesters were showing up, Antifa was showing up, Trans Tifa was showing up, communist groups were showing up. And what does that mean? When you see a flyer that they're rounding up their troops, what does that mean? Well, we just had to listen to Jesus. And what we heard was this, kind of our norm is for protesters, which, by the way, I never got protested until I started saying, don't mess with our kids. Protesters came out when we said, our kids are our kids. You're not going to mess with our kids. And we're going to stand for family. Apparently, that is a very controversial thing these days. So anyway, our protesters, we always give them a place to protest. So we did the same in Seattle. We worked it out that they would have a whole area that they'd be able to protest. Now, I will say this was our third option location. We actually begged the city of Seattle to give us Pike Place because we wanted to go to areas where there's high foot traffic, lots of families, tourists, that kind of thing. And they said no several times, a handful of times, bumped us over to another spot. And we're just kind of, getting ping ponged around. The second spot didn't work out for reasons out of our control. And so then we get to Cal Anderson Park. Okay, I say all that because Cal Anderson Park is a predominantly LGBTQ neighborhood, and it's a high traffic hub for Antifa. Okay, so here we are, Cal Anderson Park. We just want to preach the gospel. We want to bless families. And when we showed up, my son sent us a text because he got there before us, my 20-year-old son. He's like my husband. He's just very steady Eddie. There's just not a lot of high danger type of, signals that go off on the inside. But my son said, hey, it's getting crazy down here. And I'm thinking, really? So we get down there. Sure enough, protesters have shown up and they're already starting to, the heckling, of course, the cuss words, that kind of thing. But it escalated very quickly. Our outreach started at 2 o'clock, and it was about 2:15, 2:30, right around there, that there were already 23 arrests from the Antifa side. Now, the police didn't come hoping to arrest people. The police came to protect people, right? And hope to have a peaceful, a rally, a peaceful gathering. But unfortunately, the Antifa side and the protesters, I believe some of those protesters came to protest peacefully, honestly. But there was enough of them that decided to throw urine water balloons. They weren't water balloons, they were urine balloons at us. Okay, fine, whatever. But then the tear gas started, the pepper spray. Then I can't even say it because it would just be too much on this broadcast. But let's just say perverse sexual acts on the lawn in front of the kids. We had to pack up our hairdressing because we were giving free haircuts all over America. We were doing face painting. We were doing bike giveaways. We had to pack all that stuff up. We couldn't bless anybody in the middle of that because there was such a run at violence. In fact, one of our youth was basically what happened was, just to paint the picture for you, we had to in that moment realize this is not going to be a peaceful protest, obviously. So we were able to put up bike rack that we have and just segment off an area. The police then stood on the other side of the bike rack. And then our intercessors stood. Well, before the bike rack went up, because that was phase down the road, that was like a phase into it. Our intercessors stood and just prayed. And although they cussed him out and threw stuff at him and everything, but one of our youth was so incredibly activated this day. They were maybe the most impacted because our youth stood and prayed and held the line. And there was a protester that pulled a knife on one of our youth and said, "I would die to kill you, and I want to rip your throat out." Well, as he drew the knife, thank God for the Seattle Police Department, they spotted that happening and they pulled our youth out of the way. They, got this guy down, and it was like that for a long time. So we kicked off with basically sound check. You know how this goes. The band has sound check. Well, it wasn't sound check. It was, okay, just keep playing. For 5.5 hours, they played. And what we noticed is that if we stayed in prayer, we stayed in worship, then things were going, well, okay, quote unquote, meaning we didn't have a whole lot of, jumping the stage and that kind of thing. But my daughter who leads worship and some of the worship people, they had to go to the bathroom. So they kept the worship going, but some of them left to go to the restroom. That's when there was an ambush to the stage. We had two guys, gals, I'm not sure if they're gals or guys, jumped the stage, and our security put one of them in a pretzel, and another guy, our MD on our band, actually got the other one out of harm's way. So it was like I was standing there on the stage watching this all happen, thinking, I'm in an alternate universe right now. This is crazy. Now, the Seattle Police Department, they had some guys that had to go to the hospital. They, making these arrests. There were people, arrested to the pavement. Like it was a showdown, okay, without any hyperbole. In fact, I'm giving you the G-rated version here, okay? But what happened was they asked us, a lot of people from the police department, of course, they wanted to shut down because their hands were tied from the mayor. They didn't have the leeway to do what they needed to do. They didn't have the manpower. We had maybe 400 to 450 of the protesters show up. It was about the same number with us. Okay, so you can imagine the police, maybe 20 to 30 of them being totally outnumbered. Okay, so we didn't want to send anybody to the hospital. We didn't want to have anybody get hurt, but we felt the Holy Spirit say, "Can you give us until 6:30?" And they did. The police, we honor them. They held as much as they could. Once we cut that PA system, the police they moved on, and our production team got ambushed. And that was a whole nother story in and of itself. Now, that all happened. We felt God have pleasure over this, believe it or not. We had actually some protesters come over, men in full on dresses, come over and pray with us and worship with us. We kept looking for what God was doing. And one of the greatest things that happened during this, I said it before, but I'm going to say it again, our youth and everybody there was marked. Everybody was marked. I was marked for life. But our youth were so incredibly awakened. Their faith was pressed upon. Their faith that day was demanded of them, and they will never be the same. We will never be the same. So we go back to the hotel. We're processing, going, what just happened? Only to find that the mayor, Bruce Harrell, Seattle's mayor, released a statement blaming the Christians for the violence. And it's a whole statement. I hope everybody goes and reads this. Then going on to say he's doing a full-on investigation to why we were given access to a park that is really just for LGBTQ. Okay, that is when the federal government said, hold on, hold on. You're not going to be limiting places and spaces where Christians can worship. So a couple of things happened from here. Russell Johnston, who is an incredible pastor and lead of the Pursuit Church in Seattle, Washington. He was a part of this event. He said, absolutely not. We're not letting the mayor get away with this. So he put together with myself and Ross Johnston, we put together a worship protest on the steps of the Seattle City Hall, and thousands of people came out. The police actually made a statement on our side at that point saying, you know, we our hands are tied. We want to protect Seattle, but you know, with this type of restriction, how are we going to? So they jumped in and they actually blocked off the street for us because this was a no permit situation. They blocked off the street. There was over 1,000 people that we heard that couldn't even get into the event because Antifa. There was just a lot of things going on. People that were being surrounded, a mother and her baby being surrounded by Antifa. You know, these types of things happening.
We actually have that picture as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on. One of the saddest things, honestly, of that saddened my heart is there's a man who transitioned into a woman and then said, I don't want to be a woman. What am I doing? Detransitioned, or in the process of detransitioning back to a man, but he identifies as a gay man. Now, here's the thing. There's footage all over mainstream media and all over social media that the protesters actually bullied him and began to assault him. Now, he doesn't even identify as a Christian, but he wanted to come to the City Hall steps to see what was going on. See, the thing is this has never been about, you know, sexual orientation. This is about a very evil, demonic, and I don't have to say this on this broadcast, everybody knows this, but we do not fight flesh and blood, right? So that was sad to me, because again, somebody being assaulted who was trying to find their way back to their identity. So that really saddened me. But I was really proud of the church because so many people showed up on the Seattle City steps. And here was what we presented. And Russell Johnson put this out there. He said that the mayor is unfit to be an elected official for the city of Seattle, especially saying that the Christians came in and violated the values of Seattle. Okay, so when I spoke for a couple of minutes, I said, well, if your values, Seattle, are sexual acts in public for your children to see, if your values are urine bombs being thrown on your family, if your values are knives being pulled on teenagers, then you have the right mayor. But if those are not your values and you believe the next generation in your family deserves better and is worth more than this, then this mayor, and this is Russell Johnston proposed this, and we backed it up, is that the mayor needs to retract, apologize, or resign. So the FBI opened up an investigation on this, especially since the Constitution was violated, the First Amendment right, which is the freedom to gather to freely speak. Okay, so the First Amendment right, meaning what? The mayor is looking for places that maybe Christians shouldn't be allowed to go. And, you know, the point that it was our third location, hey, you know, whatever. People said, why did you go there? What did you do? You know, okay, it was our third spot. But even if it was our first choice, under the Constitution, you can't limit Christians from worshiping. Okay, but here's the thing. No one's asking Antifa if they have a permit.
Right. That's right. Okay, listen, I cannot get away from this, Jenny, because it's such a big deal. I want everybody here to understand that this thing was a setup. Okay, they asked for a specific space. And really what this was about their sacred space of this is where we have our stronghold, which is where CHOP was. the madness of CHOP, and all. It was the very same park. So this is where they sent these guys. Okay, this is where they had to go. And then once they got there, then they blamed them for the opposition that came against them there. And then it came out, well, we just need to have sacred spaces in Seattle where Christians are not allowed to go. And that was actually the agenda. That was actually a big part of their woke that they want to promote and that they wanted to establish, and they wanted to bring the hammer down. And they also thought that they were dealing with a bunch of pansies and that these guys would be so terrorized, and that Christians are such wimps that when they face this kind of terrible opposition, they'll say, man, we made a bad mistake. We made a terrible mistake and we just need to back off. But that's not what's happening, is it?
No, that's not what's happening. In fact, what I want everybody to understand listening to this is not an attack against Her Voice movement. This is not an attack against Jenny Donnelly. This is not an attack against Russell Johnson. This is an attack against the church. This is an attack against our commission that we are to take the gospel of Jesus Christ across the whole earth. And thank God we live in a country that protects us to do so. So we want you to take this personal, because it is personal. If you look at this as just something that happened in Seattle and happened to an organization, you're missing the point. The point is this, and some people say, why did you go there? If okay, we're not coming to say we must protect Cal Anderson Park. It's 6-block radius. We're not saying we're coming to protect that. What we're saying is this: if we give up a park and say, okay, you know what? You're right. We have all this other area in America that we can worship. Just take it. You know what's going to happen next? The next park. What park? The one in your town. The one in your town. So this is about the principle. This is about saying, you know what? If we give an inch, what's the devil going to do? He's going to take miles and miles and miles. So we just decided, no, we're not doing this. And there'll be more coming out with, what the Seattle Times said about us, that we're family fascists. Far-right extremists. We're extreme because we believe there's two genders. We're extreme because we believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. And so the Seattle Times did post that we owned them in our response. But, like my husband said, too little, too late. So the story of Seattle is not over. You need to stay in tune. Now, what happened next? And I don't know, Pastor Troy and Leanna, if you have watched what happened in Hollywood the next weekend. But we thought, okay, well, we'll head to Hollywood. Now, these guys don't give us permits, whether it was New York City or Miami, Houston. They don't give out permits until a couple days before, maybe the day before. There's even been permits given after an event. Okay, permits, just because you start talking to them 2 months earlier, 8 months earlier, whatever, they don't just freely hand these things out. So we knew going into Hollywood, hey, this city's not giving us our permit yet, right? So about 30 hours before Saturday morning for Hollywood Boulevard, we got notice, hey, we're not getting our permit. Well, just to back up the story a little bit, we applied for a permit, a First Amendment right permit on Hollywood Boulevard. We were told, you do not have a First Amendment right type of event. You have an LED screen, you have a stage, you have family activities. This falls under more of an entertainment performing type of permit. Okay, fair enough. They bump us to the next department, which is called a boss permit. We get that paperwork going. We start that 3 weeks before the event, only to find out 30 hours before the event, oh, sorry, we can't give you a boss permit because you actually fall under a First Amendment permit. You ever been on those phone calls where it's automated and you just end up right where you started? That's what happened. So here's what we did. They said to us, hey, how about this? How about we give you your First Amendment permit a couple streets down? It's called Hawthorne. And we thought, okay, what's the difference between it being okay over there but not here? Like, super curious about your answer on that, with no explanation, by the way. Well, we did a little bit of our research and found out that the Pride Festival has their permit, their boss permit, for, you guessed it, Hollywood Boulevard on June 8th. And we thought, well, that's super interesting. And, they should have their permit. You know why? Because of the First Amendment right, the freedom to gather, the freedom of speech. So we're not making a fuss saying you shouldn't have your permit. We're saying, hello, exactly why didn't we get our permit on Hollywood Boulevard? This is classic discrimination against the church. When you don't like our message, that doesn't mean you can't give us a permit. So we got together with the police department, the fire department. We had 2 Zooms on Friday before our event, and we let them know that we are going to Hollywood Boulevard on our First Amendment right, even though there's been no permit given, and it is legal and lawful to do so. Okay, we were just trying to go through all the right process, to get the street shut down so the police could help us, and they arrange all their troops to make sure that we're doing this safely and peacefully. And that's really the point of a permit is you have you have all this safety, right? And this protocol. But they said, well, okay, but what about Hawthorne? We said, we're going to Hollywood Boulevard. So we just said, we would love for you to show up tomorrow and help us out because we're coming. And so we showed up. We had a pre-rally at Victory Outreach Church on Hollywood Boulevard. We pulled everybody together. We had 45 minutes of here's what we're doing and here's what we need you to do. It was so packed, they had to shut the doors of the church and not let anybody else in. There were so many people that rallied around the fact that we are being discriminated as Christians for our messaging. So we had a rally basically to give everybody information that I've given you today and then say, here's what we're going to do. We need 25 people right now to run to the front of the altar. We have one person who is the captain of this intersection, and 25 people are going to block off this intersection. 25 people rushed, women, men, everybody. They rushed to the stage. Okay, this group, you're going to block off Highland. This group's going to block off Orange. This group is going to block off one little alley that can be open. And you know what? That thing got executed and coordinated within minutes. It was only the Holy Spirit and the leadership of Ross Johnston. I have to give that guy massive kudos. He went into I was like, man, you're made for this. So we marched down Hollywood Boulevard a few blocks out of that church, and we began to execute the plan. Within 5 minutes, we had a Hollywood Boulevard shut down, and we let the cars that were in that block leave. We got them out safely, and we had everybody safely. We were marching. We brought signs. That Jesus is king over Hollywood, all of that. And we exercised our First Amendment right. Now, we did have the captain of the police come and say that we had to shut down. We couldn't do this. There was a whole conversation there with conversations of arrests. Ross and I already talked about it with Cheon. We were all willing to get arrested this day. I want to say it again. We were all willing to get arrested this day. And they said that they were going to start making arrests. They did ask Ross Johnston, how many arrests will we have to make to shut this down? Ross said a lot. So by the grace of the Holy Spirit, great communication from Ross, he was able to negotiate with the captain 6:30. We want till 6:30. And this was approximately maybe 4:45 when we were having the conversation. So we went and everything popped up real quick. Many people got saved, many tourists, many pedestrians. It took them 45 minutes to unload the truck and 45 minutes to pop up just speakers on the ground. I mean, our stage that's blown out the window. We just got to get this worship going. And what happened during that time is we were able to get on the bullhorn. We got 3 bullhorns. Thank you, Amazon overnight. Got 3 bullhorns. And we started preaching the gospel. We started praying. We started chanting. What was so cool was these bullhorns got passed around on a whole city block. And people, for the first time, I have chills, for the first time, were giving their testimonies over a bullhorn. I mean, it was like an execution of all hands on deck. Just like Seattle, there was no neutral ground. Everybody had to decide who they were standing with and who they were standing for. And so, the story of Mayday USA, Seattle, and Hollywood is not over. Please stay tuned. We have some things that we're doing. We're not stopping here and saying, well, that was weird, we're moving on. No, we are going to pursue justice for the Church of Jesus, the living Messiah, the one that you and I say that we will die for. And this is the last thing I'll say, Pastor Troy, unless you have any other questions or anything, Leanna. We made a declaration in our national mall in Washington, D.C. on October 12th. Our organization, we made a declaration. The Lord gave it to us, and it was to stand for 4 things. We declared we would stand for the sanctity of life, the sacredness of 2 genders, the institution of marriage between a man and a woman, and the freedom of religion, which included the freedom of speech. Last week, when I was consulting with the Lord and said, are we really going to shut down this street? Is this really what you want me to do, Lord? I only want to be in your will. He said, You already said you would stand for it. Talk is cheap. It's time to actually stand. And so I said, let's roll, let's do this. And I believe this isn't the end for the church. There's going to be many more opportunities, and the courage of God will rise up on the inside of you. Everybody listening to this, the courage of God will rise up on the inside of you when you get your feet on the ground and you do what God asked you to do.
Yes.
It is absolutely glorious.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things, because I know that you're about to have to go. So let me throw this out there. Number one, I want to thank everybody for joining us past 30 minutes. If you jumped in here like, what the heck? Talking to Jenny Donnelly. And I want everybody to understand that when you see these riots that are taking place in Seattle, and also the riot that took place in Hollywood, this was not these guys going and causing a mess and jumping into an LT whatever crowd and saying, hey, we're jumping in, we're confronting you guys as the bad guys. No. This was the city. You need to understand who set this up and what this is. This was the city saying that Antifa and the communists and the homosexuals are going to run you out and y'all have to put up with it. And they said, no, we're not. You guys are not going to make us leave. And listen, do not jump on the narrative that is being fed to you today from liberal churches, and also too from the liberal media. Man, you better be on the right side of this. It's very important that you're on the right side of this, and you better not be on the wrong side of this. We are on the right side of this, and we stand with these four things that you just now said, Jenny, that you're standing for. Would you please say those four things again? And by the way, Leanna was with you, and so was Rebecca in Washington, D.C. They were actually with you, and Shay was there. I forgot Shay was there. Shay, I always forget about you. Anyway, they were there with you. Tell us again the four tenets. Tell us.
Yes, the four statements that we will take a stand for and not love our lives unto death. Number one, the sanctity of human life from conception into eternity. Number two, we will stand for the sacredness of two genders. Number three, we will stand for the godly institution of marriage between a man and a woman. And number four, we will stand for the freedom of religion, which includes the freedom of speech.
Okay, I also got to put a shout out, because my good friend Darren Stott, who pastors a church in Seattle as well, Darren was there, and he and his family was there. And mind you, Darren went into the same exact part during the CHOP thing, where the communists and Antifa took over, where literally the city turned over the police department to them and said, hey, you're right. This is not our space anymore. This is now your space. He went in there and he prophesied to people, saw people get saved. He was there for a long time. There were murders, there were rapes, there was all kinds of stuff that happened during that time. This is what he said. He told me, he called me that night, and he said, the spirit that came against Jenny and the spirit that came against this bunch was worse than the spirit that I saw during CHOP. He said it was more hostile. There was literal murder. There was a spirit of murder that was there saying, you're on our turf and you're not allowed to be here. Even though the city had put you guys there, and you're not allowed to be there. And you guys were there legally. You guys were there to bring Jesus. You guys were there to do outreaches, to love on people, to make a stand for Jesus, and to make a stand for sanity. And then they were like, you're not allowed to be here. Same thing happened again in Hollywood. And this is what it looks like when you take over turf, and it is messy. And I want to just tell you this, Jenny, we stand with you, and we love you, and we praise God for the brave stand that you guys are making.
And one of
Thank you so much.
Jenny, that you're so famous for saying is that God's not nice, but he's kind.
Yeah.
And he's given us dominion, and dominion means we have the responsibility to taking back the territory that God has given us, whether the enemy's there or not. That is the territory that God has given us as Christians, as moms, as dads, as families. And we have the responsibility of stewarding those places for the kingdom. And so much of the church and so much of Christianity wants to be nice and say, okay, we're not going to fight with you. You can have it. It's just a little bit, but it's not. And it's like you said, if you give them a little bit, they take all of it. And we have to be able to stand up and be courageous in this day and say, no, this is what God has called. This is what he put us here for. He didn't put us here just to live a cozy life and stay in the four walls of our church, but he's called us here to take dominion, which he's given us. And so we're so proud of you for doing that, for making that stand and taking the lead on this and taking other people into this and saying, no, this is what we were made for. It's so good. So good.
Jenny, how can all of our viewers, we literally have viewers all over the world right now, how can we support you? What do we need to know? How do we keep standing with you? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do right now is just stay in touch with my social media, because I'll be putting everything out. We have an announcement we're going to make next week, hopefully. And it's going to be important that you watch this as we roll out, because there's going to be a clarion call to the church to take a stand, from the Gen Alpha 8-year-old to the gray hairs that are still praying and believing for revival. I believe that we are truly in the best times. And one thing that came to me, Pastor Leanna, when you just spoke there, I'm a middle child. Okay. Kumbaya is much more me than, let me just take on Antifa here. We were never looking for a fight, and we still aren't. I think that's where people struggle. They wrestle with, I don't want to just go pick fights. Well, we don't either. And that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is staying faithful to what God asked us to do from day one, which was bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, to disciple nations. But the second that people, government, tyranny stops you from your mission, because we're missionaries, we're citizens of heaven. We just got parachuted out of our mother's womb and landed here. We have a job. We're accountable to this job. I want to tell you that I'm not looking for a fight, and neither should you. But when you find yourself bumping up against territory that's rightfully yours to freely preach the gospel or freely pray for people or freely worship, then you better be willing to stand. And that's where we are. We're going to pursue the gospel with peace. We're going to pursue the gospel with love and truth. But when we are confronted with Goliath, we're pulling out our slingshot. And I pray to God that you do it too. So stay in touch with our social media. Really, it's, YouTube is Jenny Donnelly Official. Instagram is Jenny L. Donnelly. And, we're on Facebook and, on X as well. But thank you so much, pastors, for having me today. This is a good fight of faith, and it's going to take numbers to do it. So let's do it together.
All right, listen, we're in, and we will continue to pray for you. We will continue to stand with you, and we're going to continue to watch, and we're going to continue to cheer. Jenny, you need to know this. I'll tell you the same thing I say to all of my Jewish friends. Not everybody hates you. We love you. Hey, God bless you so much, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
God bless you. Well, my goodness. Okay, so Shay, are you still there? You guys
Yeah, we're fired up in here. That was... I just wanted, I wish we could have been there. That's just all I was thinking the whole time is like, man, I wish we could have been there with her in those moments, because this is the stuff that it's like, for such a time as this, it's so important that we are unashamed and unafraid. And I just want to encourage everyone who's watching right now. I see people in the chat are so fired up. Guys, I want to see you, if you are as fired up as we are, and you are wanting to take this stand and stand in the gap for this next generation, for our children, for our kids, for humanity, and stand up against the spirit of murder, type "not on our watch." We want you in this fight, and we want to know that you are as fired up as we are, right?
Amen.
No, that's good. Not on our watch. Come on, just type it in there. Say not on our watch. And understand this, when you go to make a stand, and when you say, I'm standing for our kids, I'm standing for righteousness, I'm standing for the United States, we live in a day where you will be attacked.
Yeah.
When you are attacked, if you don't back down, the evangelicals that say it's your job to be nice will be mad at you for not backing down. And listen, Jesus ain't nice. This is what I've been telling you. This is why I've had over 1 million hate mails, 1 million hate down thumbs, 1 million bad comments over my whole thing of Jesus ain't nice. Is because they're not, no, you got to be nice. In other words, hey man, you got to be a peacekeeper. No, we're called to be peacemakers. We're not called to be peacekeepers. Whenever you're a peacekeeper, man, you just say, okay, I'm here to get along with everybody. No, if you're here to attack me, if you want to sexualize my children, if you demand to have a sexual performance in front of my kids, no, I'm not here.
Disgusting.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
I'm not here to get, okay, you're going to throw urine bombs at me and my little girls. That's what you're going to do. Here's the deal, Pickle. We're not here to be nice. We will bring the power and the authority of the Lord Jesus Christ. We are grown men and grown women. We also have choices, and we will choose to stand. And furthermore, we will use the Constitution of the United States of America and the fullest extent of the law. And you crybabies will be the ones that'll back up, not us.
Man, Pastor, our chat is blowing up on YouTube and ODX. Crazy. I mean, people are saying not on our watch, not now, not ever. It is, and something that you said, Pastor, it really stuck with me. And, I think now is a great time for us to head behind the veil if you're okay with it. And when we do, Pastor, I really you mentioned the spirit of murder. And it really just hit me that it is driven by the spirit of murder. And it's not just murder of a physical, Jenny mentioned this, someone had a knife and they were willing to pull a knife out and they say like, I want to kill you so bad right now. Yes, that is one way it manifests, but the spirit of murder is also manifesting by coming after our kids' identities. And it's literally trying to murder who God has made us to be. It's trying to flip it all backwards. It's trying to turn this next generation into eunuchs, honestly, a bunch of eunuchs. And that is the spirit of murder that is driving this. It's separating us from our humanity that God has given to us and implanted in us. And so I want to hear you unpack that some more, if you're okay with it.
I do. And you know what? We're about to go behind the veil, and I'm going to go off on a tirade.
Good. Those are my favorite.
And we need to actually do this where we will not be censored. And the place where we're actually going to do that is at ODX.TV, Stage 2, Stage 3, which is our platform. And I want to encourage all of my Stage 2 and all of our Stage 3 people to stay on board and join us there, because we got some things that we want to tell you that's a really, really, really big deal. So I tell you what, friends, y'all tell everybody how they can stay plugged in. Tell everybody what we're offering. Tell them about our most recent rescues and help me out with that.
Yeah. All right. So Rebecca, in a second, if you want to let people know about the different packages, but really quick, if you joined us halfway through, you might have missed that we have a new rescue from this past week, and it's a 14-year-old girl named Emma. And we call her lovingly the Oreo girl, because when she was rescued from a crime ring at 14 years old after being prostituted and used as a drug mule, she literally, her one request was she wanted Oreos. That's what freedom tasted like for her, man. And we were so happy to give her a big box of Oreos, because to her, that is freedom. And not only that, she's been rescued, she's been redeemed. She is in one of our safe homes right now. And she is one of over 4,000 kids that we have right now within our care. And man, that's what it looks like when we say yes to the call of God. So we're not just getting fired up about being on the front lines and taking a stand for biblical values, but we are demonstrating Jesus by rescuing kids from the slavery, from sexual slavery all over the world. And we need you to help us do that. We need you to not just be mobilized, to not just be moved by the stories that we share, but be mobilized and get involved and be a rescuer. And the way that you do that is by sewing into what we are doing here on the front lines. You can do that by calling 877-413-0888. You can go to troybrewer.com, or you can actually mail snail mail to the address on your screen. And we have a lot of people who decide to sow into our ministry that way. But Rebecca, we have some really cool specials going on this month for people who are saying yes to this call and who are getting involved financially and partnering with us. So why don't you let them know about that?
Yeah, and first of all, we want to thank everybody that has given this week, that has partnered with us. We've had so many $5,000 givers. Thank you so much for taking a stand, for putting your feet on the ground and saying not on our watch. So thank you so much. We have multiple ways that you can give. We have if you give a donation of $50 today, you would get a Troy Brewer book of your choice and a workbook and a prayer card. Let me tell you that some of these prayer cards have taken me out of some things during the week. These are not just any prayer cards. These are literally by elders put together, and they are amazing. Another donation that you give, if you give $300 today, you will get a book and 2 tickets to our new Beginnings Conference. We've been doing this I've been here 10 years. Every year it gets better and better. And let me tell you, you're not going to want to miss it. If you give a gift today, a donation of $1,000, you get 4 tickets to our New Beginning Conference and Stage 3 ODX for 1 year. What is that? Stage 3 is it's ODX.TV, and you get Pastor Troy's all exclusive preachings, conferences, where he's at on television, everywhere. And honestly, it is a lifesaver. And also, if you give $5,000 today, which we've had so many, I am just in awe of what God is doing. We believed, and He has provided.
And the reason we're asking, especially for the $5,000, is because we just said yes to a pregnancy center in Belize.
Yes.
And that's what it costs to keep it open and running for every single month. So when we've had a couple people that have had it on their heart to sow into, hey, I want to sponsor it for a month. And we are aiming to get it sponsored for the whole year right now. We're like, all right, Lord, let's do this $5,000 a month for the whole, for a month for the whole year. That's what we're trying to do. And so we believe today that there's someone watching that wants to sow in and say, hey, I'm going to sponsor a month and I want to impact the lives of all of those girls who would have had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, and with that $5,000, you get a lifetime membership to ODX, meaning for life. Everything that Pastor Troy says, notes, sermon notes of Sid Roth, everywhere he's at. And it's amazing because it's all in one platform.
Place.
You know, so get connected. Let's donate. Let's get in the fight. Let's take a stand. And this is our mission. Like Jenny Donnelly, God gave her that vision. Pastor Troy and Leanna, God gave them this mission. And we're taking a stand and we're not backing down.
Amen. And
we're excited.
Seriously. Today, I just feel fired up today.
I know. I want to go and take a stand outside.
I'm like, we're going to go to the streets of Burleson and start doing something.
No, it does. It ignites that faith that Jenny Donnelly said.
It charges you up. And so, okay, I want to hear Pastor Troy's rant. I love a good Pastor Troy rant. So we're going to head behind the veil right now, which means we're going to jump over to our ODX platform. But just a really quick reminder, number one, Jerry Ann Webb is going to be in the house tonight at Open Door Church with an exclusive screening of her movie, Repair the Breach. This is like a pre-release screening. And people who are here are going to get to take a survey all about it and give their thoughts. It's going to be awesome. And also, Pastor Troy, got to give him a shout out. His song, Here I Am, is now available for download on Apple Music and Spotify. That was recorded live at our New Beginnings conference that we were just talking about. Such an incredible moment to be in the room for that song. And the exclusive music video is also available on YouTube right now. So check that out if you haven't yet. Pastor, you ready to go behind the veil?
Oh, let's do it. I'm in, man. I'm sitting here writing postcards to my grandkids right now.
All right,
we'll anytime we go anywhere, I write. Leanna's got these cool wooden ones.
Cute. Oh my goodness, that's cool.
Grandkids, and so
that's so sweet.
I'm in. Let's go.
All right, get ready for your rant because we're ready for it over here. All right. So to everyone who's joining us on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and all the places, we will see you next time. We will see you right here next week. But for everyone who's joining on ODX, we'll see you in just a couple minutes.
The fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It's not just a global problem, it's our problem, and it's closer than you think. In just 4 years of open borders, our nation became a trafficking superhighway, resulting in over 350,000 kids just vanishing. It's time to say, not on our watch, not on our land, and not to our children. Our team of rescuers has spent the last 30 years rescuing and raising over 11,000 kids here in the U.S. and all over the world. We have over 51 safe homes and more than 4,000 children in our care right now. But we could have 10 times that. We just need your support. Please call now and join our team of rescuers. Call 877-413-0888 or go to troybrewer.com. Get in this fight today, because if we don't show up for these kids, nobody else is coming.